Being in debt is by no stretch of the imagination a fun experience. And especially right now with the turmoil that's been going on in the world, from a global pandemic to hornets to everything else that's going on in these streets of America right now, you know what they are. Being in debt is extra not fun at the moment. So, how do you get out of debt while still investing? Here are 8 things to do. So, the first step of getting out of debt is 1, knowing what debt you are getting out of. You need to list all of the debts that you have, what the due dates are, the amounts, and the interest rates. Write all of that down so you can see it plain. It might be scary, but it's just numbers. Write it down so you can get a full scope of what everything is. 2, so the next thing you want to do is decide the order that you want to pay everything. Do you want to go with paying the highest interest debt first, or do you want to go with paying the highest amount debt first? So that kind of means literally how it sounds. Do you want to pay the credit card that has 25% interest on it first, or do you want to pay your student loan or your credit card that has $20,000 before you pay off that $3,000 credit card? That's the gist of it. So do that in order with each of the debts that you have listed. Write down 1 through the end of them, what the order is going to be that you pay them. The best way to pay down the debt without having to pay an exorbitant amount of interest or paying extra interest over the long haul is to go with the amount of debt that has the highest interest rate. Do that and then put all that money to the next one. Which brings me to 3. So the next thing is also an organizational thing. Once you've written down the debts and you know which order you're going to pay them down, call those creditors, call your credit card company, call your insurance, call everybody that you're paying if you need, and see if you can adjust the due date, see if they can lower your interest rate. Just make sure you're speaking with them and they are communicating with you so you can figure out as a team the best way for you to be able to manage the debt and get it down and eliminate it. The next thing you want to do is make sure you are paying just the minimum balance on your second loan in your order all the way to the last one. So if you have a loan that you're going with and the first one is $10,000, put all your extra money to that one that's $10,000, and then the second loan, the third loan, the fourth loan, fifth loan, and so on, you'll only be paying the minimum balance. So you will be putting all of your extra effort and your extra energy into that first loan that you are trying to pay down. So next step is kind of going alongside with the step before it. You're paying more towards the loan that you're trying to knock out first. So when I say extra, I mean extra. If it's not your groceries, if it's not your gas to get to your job or family or wherever you need to go regularly, if it's extra, if it's something that you do not need, that money goes right to that debt, period. Now, the next thing you want to do as you're paying that extra, that over the minimum for that first loan, or that particular loan that you're trying to knock out at this point in time, contact the lender and make sure you communicate with them that you want all of the extra money, all of that over the minimum balance, to go to your principal, to be applied to your principal. Because if not, they might apply to interest or to the next payment. You don't want that. You want it to hit the bulk of the money that you owe, not the interest. So that way, over the long run, you're paying less in interest for that loan. And when you do that, get it in writing, either through mail or secured email or however. Just make sure you have some document stating this person or on this day, this was agreed upon for this particular debt. Now, the next thing, once you've paid off that first loan, you've gone through the whole process. 1, congratulate yourself because you did it. 2, start that same process with that next debt. So once you've paid off, say that $10,000 debt that you decided to go with first, paying down, go with the second one on your list. everything that you are putting to that loan, you now add to that minimum balance that you are paying on that next loan. Rinse and repeat. You're gonna keep recycling that entire process until you have paid off all of your loans. And it'll end up being quicker as you go, because you're gonna add the money that you've been putting towards the first loan to the second loan, and that first and second loan to the third loan, and that first and second and third loan to the fourth loan, and so on and so forth. Now, while you're doing this, it is super important that you are not depleting your savings. Do not dig into your savings. You'll still need your savings, for emergency, for a rainy day or a rainy season in 6 months in pandemic, right? Bottom line, the last thing you want is you to be paying down debt. You're almost finished or you're halfway, and then an emergency comes up, and then you have to use the same credit card, or you have to pull out another loan, which might be harder to do as time goes on, just to pay off an emergency, because you took your emergency money and you put it towards paying down your debt. Or worst off, you're not able to do any of that and you have no funds available to handle an emergency. Not fun at all. So make sure you are not putting yourself in that situation, and you keep your savings, and you pay your debt with what you're supposed to be paying your debt with. Don't touch your savings unless it's an emergency. Now, one thing that makes this unique to investing at the same time, one thing you're going to do different from that traditional technique is, once you've paid off that first debt, take some of that extra that you've been putting towards that first debt and put it towards investments, while you are putting the second half to your second loan, or your second debt. So that way you've accomplished one, you've pumped yourself up mentally, you've pumped yourself up financially, and you've probably given your credit a little boost too by knocking out a debt and investing. So you're having money grow at this point while you're paying down debt. So you'll really feel way more comfortable leaving your savings to your savings and not touching it. Now, another caveat to this is, if you have old debt or debts, check with your state's statute of limitations. Tell you why. Statute of limitations for debts can usually be around 3 to 15 years, which means if you have an old debt, whoever that debt is to, they may be barred from suing you if you have already defaulted on it for that period of the statute of limitations for your area. In this instance, if at this time you decide you want to start paying on that debt again, if it's in full, a full payment or a partial payment or whatever, you've now reset that statute of limitations back to 0. And you're starting back from square one. So now if something happens, you might be sued if you can't pay it later, or if you stop paying it again, or anything like that. So check with your state what the statute of limitations are before you go and start paying older debts. And the one time you may want to start paying again is if you might need to use that creditor again. I mean, think about it. If you went to the grocery store, you ran out of money, or you left your wallet at home, and they for some reason said, oh yeah, take the whole bag, take the whole cart, you could bring it back next time, and you never do, I don't think they're gonna want you back there. Just saying. If you need to utilize a creditor again, you might want to pay them off, regardless of the statute of limitations. And now this last piece, if you are receiving these stimulus checks, assistance stimulus checks, and you are unemployed at the moment, if it is extra for you, it would behoove you to take some of that, or possibly even one of those checks per month or every other week, and put it straight to your debts. And then take a percentage of that and put it towards investments. So that way you're still getting some money to live on, and you're knocking out your debt, and you're building some investments. So those are my tips. If you have any suggestions, or you have gotten out of debt while saving and investing? Drop what you did in the comments below. Hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. All right, check you next time.